One of my interests in the world is 70 years of the Soviet Union. We've had the 70 years of the Soviet Union. It's like a 70-year-old man. That's what the Soviet Union is like. It has a modern character. That's why it looks like a 70-year-old man. I think 70-year-old men look like modern men. That's why it looks like a modern 70-year-old man. But I think with Russia and its Soviet-Russian Revolution, I think with Tsar Nicholas being very impotent with the First World War, with sickle cell anemia, I think Russia was very concerned by the First World War, and I think Tsar Nicholas I was incapable of dealing with the First World War. He had no idea in how to deal with the First World War, and that's why we have the Russian Revolution. He has no idea how to deal with the First World War. That's why we have the Russian Revolution. Now, I think that because of 70 years of the Soviet Union, we have a Russian Federation now. Now, if you look at world history and public information, federations are American. All federal states in America and the world are American, and Russia has one as well. Russia has a Russian Federation. Now, what has been the legacy of the Soviet Union? It's been 70 years of the Soviet Union. It's been a threat of the Cuban Missile Crisis, of nuclear Armageddon. It's been bold sausage heads with the threat of tank warfare. And I think that the Soviet Union has a dictated world order. Dictated world order with its Russian character of violence. So we've had 70 years of the Soviet Union. Now, if you look at how many revolutions we've had in world history, we've had one Soviet revolution, one Russian revolution, one with Tsar Nicholas I, and it was in the early 1900s, 1917 or 1919. I think that's when we had the Russian Revolution. And because of that Russian Revolution, we've had 70 years of the Soviet Union with all of its threats and aggression, with all of its dictates and demands and control, with all of its authority and dictamony, with all of its persistence in rights of attitude and authority. We've had the Soviet Union, we've had European civilization, we've had American civilization, we've had Indian civilization and Persian civilization and Greek civilization and Chinese civilization. And what the hell is Russian civilization? What is Russian civilization? It's the Russian Revolution and 70 years of the Soviet Union. That's what Russian civilization is. Now, if you look at what Russia is, it's those two things. It's the Russian Revolution and 70 years of the Soviet Union. That's what Russian civilization is. You can have a look at Russian history. You can have a look at world history and Russian history. And if you look at what Russian history is, it's the Russian Revolution and 70 years of the Soviet Union. That's what Russia has attained at its highest pinnacle in the world. Those two things, the Russian Revolution and the Soviet Union. Have a look at Russian history. There's nothing there. What exists in Russia? What exists in Russian history? What exists then? There's nothing there. There's no Russian history. There's no Russian cities. There's no Russia. There's just melting snow in Siberia. There's nothing in Russia. And if you look at world history, there's probably no Russian history as well. So I think that this is very important for why there's a Russian Revolution and 70 years of the Soviet Union. I think that's very important. Why is Russia in the world? It's a separatist state and a separatist country. That's what Russia is. What has happened to Russia, the Russian Revolution, 70 years of the Soviet, I think it's collapsed. It's collapsed. I think it's collapsed like Shaheeb. I think Shaheeb has made it collapse. I think it's the Soviet Union and it's collapsed like Shaheeb. You can have a look at those hammers and sickles. They have Shaheeb behavior and they've collapsed like Shaheeb. Why? Because Russia doesn't exist in the world. I don't think it does. Now what's the state of condition of Russia? It has to beg to American feet and knees. That's 70 years of the Soviet Union. 70 years of the Soviet. They have to beg to Russian feet and to American feet and to American knees. That's the Soviet Union. It can command Europe. It can command space. It can command authority with the public and the people. But instead, the Soviet Union has collapsed and it has to beg to American feet and to American knees. What the hell is America in the world? It's a chocolate bar. That's what America is. And the Soviet Union has to beg to American feet and to American knees. And have a look at the collapse of the Soviet Union. That looks like the Russia Federation. Why is the Russia Federation? Because I think it's betrayed the Soviet Union. It welcomes America. It's abandoned the Soviet Union. And it begs to the feet of America. And that's why there's a poor Russia now, a very deprived Russia. How our empires fallen like that? Only Soviet Union has fallen like that. Has the Roman Empire fallen like that? Has the Greek Empire fallen like that? Has Alexander the Great Empire fallen? The Soviet Union is equal and quite similar to the Alexander the Great Empire. It's something similar for the significance it has in the world, for the change it's done in the world, for the importance it's conducted in the world, for the right of dignity and authority it's done in the world. But if you look at how the Soviet Union has collapsed, it's collapsed like the Russia Federation with Gorbachev. He's a butcher's head. With President Yeltsin, he has no fingers on his hand because he has bleach on his hand. And with President Putin, who's Sputnik and boiled potatoes, he's an intelligence officer who has the confidence of an intelligence officer, and what is his highest achievement in Russia? It's building the Russian economy. What has he done for Russia? What has President Putin done for Russia? He's a Chechen president in Russia. He's not Russian. Chechen president in Russia. He's a chinchilla. He's from Chechnya. Chechen president. What has he done for Russia? Russia could have gathered itself together and could have done some dictamony of authority. It deserves command because it commands the world. And how has it been reduced? How has it been with that poverty and